What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only. Ash said it. AshSaidIt.com. AshSaidIt.com. Welcome to the Ash Said It Daily Podcast Show. I appreciate you guys for all of your love and support. Over 1,700 episodes and 500,000 streams worldwide. None of this would be possible without you guys, so I thank you so very, very much. And yes, spring is in the air and summer is literally around the corner. And I know that a lot of you guys have been dealing with a lot of just adjustment due to the pandemic, due to COVID. So today I have with me a pretty amazing author with a book here. All right, the book's title is On the Road Less Traveled, An Unlikely Journey from the Orphanage to the Boardroom, the wonderful Ed Hajim. Hey, Ed.
Hi, how are you, Ed?
I am great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So, Ed, where in the world are you today?
Well, I came out of Florida. We're in the Bahamas now. Vacation.
That sounds like a fun Memorial Day weekend there, Ed. I mean, I'm feeling a certain way. I feel a way, you know. I guess my invite got lost in the mail. That's okay. That's all right. All right, Ed. So, going into it, first to start off with your story, Ed, why did you feel the need to share your story in book form like this?
It's a little bit of an odyssey. At 18 years old, I buried my story. Childhood was a very difficult childhood, and I decided to bury it under the concept that self-denial is good. And when I'm 55 years later, when I became chairman of the board of trustees at the University of Rochester, I was going to give a gift to the school, and they said, well, we have to find a little more about you. And simultaneously, both my wife and my children basically said, we've got to write this down, Dad, because they didn't know the whole story either. My wife knew most of it. The children knew some of it. And as it started to leak out, and I decided I would try and write it. And I started writing it. In fact, the first draft, when I sent it out, a lot of people said, this is a really good story, and you have to do more than just put it down on paper and give it to your family. You really have to write a book. And I had a ghostwriter who said, he can help me. And, I was an engineer, so my writing wasn't terrific. And I started the thing a long time ago, over 5 years ago, struggling with it, because when you write, as you all know, it's very difficult to communicate exactly what you want to tell people, and then you're hoping they get the right idea. Second of all, I had to separate facts from what I remembered, because it was a long time ago, and I had all the letters my father had written me and all the letters I'd written him, so I had a chance to do that. And then as the book got into reasonable form, I kept getting more and more people saying, this is a book that should be read by every young person, because it tells them that anything is possible and that education is the answer to almost everything. So those are the 2-3 reasons. And, once you get the book out there, you sort of start to relate to it. And then people start to give you encouragement. And since then, it's been very, very, very positive for me. A number of people have said, this is really helping me. I got feedback from a number of young first-gen kids that, first year in college, telling me that my book really helped them get through the first year. So I think that it's paying dues. And so that's the reasons, but it was a long haul. Actually, I buried this story for, I say, about 55 years.
Wow.
And then now I'm getting a kick out of it, actually. And I learned a lot from it as well. So it's been a very good experience so far.
Okay. Now, how long from the push from your family and friends to actually getting the book printed, how long was that process?
It took me about 5 years. Because
Wow.
I had my first ghostwriter was wonderful, but she really wanted me to hate my father, and she wanted much more drama in my life than I really wanted. I had to stop. I stopped her, and it took me. I had to let that book go by and actually start almost over again. So it took about really 2.5-3 years from the time I started with the new ghostwriter. It's a real trial. You'll find it when you try and write something. Also, I didn't want to write 4 or 5 or 100 pages. I wanted to continue to consolidate it to make it easy reading. And people have told me that it does read reasonably well. And that I guess I cooked the ghostwriter with.
Gotcha. Was there any part of the book that was more difficult to essentially relive as you were writing it?
Oh, my childhood was almost impossible. In fact, halfway through I stopped, and my daughter had to pick it up, and read the letters, and put my life together. And she wrote the first draft. She's a writer. She's a curator for TED Talks, and she's always been a very good writer. So she wrote the first draft. And once I got the first draft written and looked at my life, my childhood, through 14 or 15, it was pretty rough. And every time I went to it, it just bothered me, so I stopped. But she went and she said, "Dad, we've got to put this down," and she did it. And so she wrote the real first draft. Then I went and filled in some of the facts and some of the settings and different times, especially the relationship with my father, which she couldn't write about. I had to write about it.
Gotcha. Now,
but it was difficult.
Yeah, I'd imagine. There's a lot as I was combing through it and combing through your history. There's a lot there. So after the book,
actually, the fact that Sundays at the orphanage, when I didn't get visiting rates, nobody came to see me. Sundays still are running on. I'm 84 years old, and Sundays are still difficult for me. So that's another thing I wanted to convey to people is that your childhood has a huge impact on you, and if you understand it, you're better off. And this book helped me understand my childhood, even at my advanced age.
Wow. Was there any part after the book was printed and its final release and things of that nature, was there any part that really touched you as far as people's reaction to the book? Was there any particular reaction that you got from it that was memorable?
Yeah, the most people have given me a lot. Well, it wasn't my fault that I grew up the way I did. They've given me a lot of credit for getting over the adversity that I've gone through. And what touched me was people basically saying, that they were very impressed with my ability to balance, different parts of my life, self, work, family, and, what I call community, giving back. And that touched me. And I looked back and said, maybe I haven't done such a bad job. I've always been very tough on myself. And this has helped me, say, Ed, you haven't done such a bad job. You've done okay. And a lot of people said, have been very, very nice to me. And what happened basically is a lot of people who have worked with me over the years sent me letters saying, you were a great boss. I just got one from one of the young ladies that worked for me, so young anymore. She said, you're a great boss. That made me feel good. But what touched me the most was when some young person, there's a young lady named Miracle up in Boston who was a miracle birth, and she said, you really helped me. And I basically, I gained something from your book that really touched me, and it made all the work that I did worthwhile.
I love that. Definitely touching. So, ultimately, Ed, what do you want readers to get from this book?
Well, my main target audience is people between 16 and 25. I want to help them get over some of the bumps that you have during that period of time, because that's a time when many of your passions are forming, many of your principles are being tested, many of your partners are being questioned, and then some of the times you're building your plans. So I want to help them, because of my life and things that I did, help them get over a few of those bumps and make it a little bit easier for them. I also want to target the audience of people in their 40s and 50s who are changing jobs or changing industries, having them get the concept that change is not terrible. It's absolutely necessary. And change is important. And it's never too late to find your passion and go after it. So those are the main target audiences. But the freshman in college, I want he or she to see what I had to go through. And I was miserable. You arrive at college, you have the wrong clothes, you're wearing a leather jacket, you don't feel good because everybody else is getting unloaded by their parents, and you're carrying the suitcase which has all the wrong clothes in it. Then the first week you have a fraternity run, and you get turned down by everybody. And then you walk into your calculus class, and you've been a top math student in high school, and you're not so good anymore. And then you get a D+ on your first English paper. And then your dormitory football team loses all of its games. Then you get on the basketball team and you don't play because you're so small. And and then you get through the first year, first 7 months, and I want them to get through it and recognize that most of these young people, these first gens, don't do well, not academically, they don't do well socially. And if I can help them get through that and say, it's hell on wheels. But most importantly, don't be a victim. Just accept what happens and then ask what I call the big questions. What's next? Keep working on
I love it. Ed, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Ashley, thank you for your time, and I loved hearing about your company.
Oh, not a problem. And let everyone know, Ed, what's the best way to get the book?
Amazon has it. Simon Schuster has it. You just click on Amazon, put on Road Less Traveled by me at Hajim. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, luckily the name Hajim is very unusual, so my website is www.hajim.com.
I love it. Much more success to you and your whole team and your family and everybody. Again, the book is On the Road Less Traveled, an unlikely journey from the orphanage to the boardroom. Ed Hajim, thank you so much. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for your love and support. Keeping in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do. You look them square in the face. You tell them, don't believe me. Just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for, the history books. Social media is nice, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.